A PRE affiliate, somebody who actually rides for Young Dolph's legacy, found out that Hernandez Goven was on Instagram Live, and he pulled up. Like physically showed up to fight this man on site. No warning, no debate, just boom. And the video is going viral right now. His name is Sifastalia Sammy on Instagram, and he went and did what a lot of people been wanting to do for years. But here's what I really need y'all to understand before we get into that clip. Because if you don't know the full story of who Hernandez Goven is, what the police said he did, how he beat the case, what happened when he got out, and what happened to his own daughter, then you are not ready for how deep this whole situation goes. So stay locked in, because this is going from start to finish. And by the end of this video, you're going to understand exactly why that pull-up happened and why nobody in PRE's camp is losing any sleep over it. Let's get into it. Alright, so for those who don't know, and I know some of y'all are new here, welcome to the channel, gang. We gotta go back. We gotta go back to November 17, 2021. That date should mean something to anybody who was rocking with Memphis rap. Anybody who was a real fan of the culture. That's the day young Dolph was killed. Shot and killed inside Makeda's homemade butter cookies in Memphis, Tennessee. A place he used to go to all the time. A community spot. And I mean, the whole world felt that. Dolph wasn't just a rapper, he was a whole movement. Paper route empire, independent, he built something real. He inspired a whole generation of artists to own their masters, own their brand, move on their own terms. And somebody took that from the world. That's the foundation of everything we're talking about today, so never forget that part. Now, two names came up immediately when law enforcement started investigating this murder. Justin Johnson, also known as Straight Drop, and Cornelius Smith. Those were the two individuals who were charged with actually pulling the trigger with being the shooters. And those cases have been well documented. People know about them. But then there was a third name, a name that maybe didn't get as much attention in the mainstream, but in Memphis and in the streets, people knew exactly who this was. That name was Hernandez Goven. And this is where it gets real interesting, gang, because Hernandez Goven wasn't charged as a shooter. He wasn't alleged to be the one who walked in that store. What law enforcement alleged, and I want to be clear, these are allegations, this is what the prosecution put forward, was that Hernandez Goven played a specific role in the conspiracy that led to young Dolph's death. The police and prosecutors alleged that he was part of the planning, part of the coordination. What they specifically alleged was that Hernandez Goven was involved in the procurement of the car, the vehicle, the white Mercedes that was used in the murder. That's what they said, that he helped facilitate getting that car to the people who would use it. Now think about that for a second, because in the eyes of the law, if you are part of a conspiracy to commit murder, if you help plan it, if you help provide the tools, if you play any coordinated role, you can be held just as responsible as the person who pulled the trigger. That's how conspiracy law works in this country. It doesn't matter if you were miles away. It doesn't matter if you never touched a weapon. If you were part of the plan, prosecutors can come at you just as hard. And that's exactly what they tried to do with Hernandez Goven. He was arrested, he caught a charge. And at the time, the community was paying attention. People were watching this case because this was Dolph we were talking about. This wasn't just some random case. This was one of the most beloved figures in Southern rap culture, and people wanted everybody involved to be held accountable. So how did Hernandez Goven end up beating it? Because y'all, he did. He beat the case, and that's the part that had people in their feelings for a long time. Here's what happened. The prosecution's case against him was largely built on the conspiracy angle, the idea that he was a knowing and willing participant in the plot. But in court, the evidence against him specifically, not the evidence against the other defendants, but the evidence tying him directly to a knowing criminal conspiracy, apparently didn't hold up to the standard needed for conviction. Now, I'm not a lawyer, and the full details of what went down in that courtroom are complicated, but the bottom line is this. The jury or the process did not result in a conviction for Hernandez Goven. He walked. And gang, I cannot tell you how that landed with people who love Dolph. I cannot even describe it, because here's the thing. In the court of public opinion, and especially in Memphis, people had already made up their minds. People felt like this man was connected to what happened to Dolph, and watching him walk free, that was a wound. That was something that sat with people. But here's where Hernandez Goven made everything exponentially worse for himself. because a lot of people, when they beat a serious charge, when they come out the other side of something like that, they lay low, they stay quiet, they understand that they just escaped something major, and they move accordingly. They go live their life. That is a smart move. That is what any rational person would do. Hernandez Goven did the opposite. Y'all are not ready for this part, because when this man got out, when he beat the case and came home, he started doing interviews. He started talking. He started going on platforms, going live, doing podcasts, doing these sit-down conversations, and the energy he was given was not the energy of a man who just narrowly avoided prison. It was not the energy of someone humbled by a close call. The energy he was given was, and I want you to really hear what I'm saying, it was almost like he was embracing the narrative, like he was leaning into the idea that he was connected to what happened to Dolph. Now, some people will say, and his supporters would argue, that he was simply defending himself publicly, that he was setting the record straight after being falsely accused. And I hear that argument, but the way he was moving, the things he was saying in these appearances, the way he was conducting himself, it read differently to a lot of people. It read like someone who was trying to build a reputation OFF of something terrible, like he was using the tragedy of young Dolph's death as some kind of clout, as some kind of street credibility. And in Memphis, in PRE circles, in the community that actually knew and loved Dolph, that did not sit right with people. That was seen as disrespectful on a level that's hard to even quantify. Because Dolph had a family. He had a woman, Key, who loved him. He had children. He had a whole paper route empire of artists and people who depended on him, who looked up to him, who built their careers alongside him. And to have someone who was allegedly involved in his death out here doing press runs and talking about it like it's a badge of honor, that's a slap in the face to every single one of those people. And the streets don't forget. The streets do not forget. But now, and this is the part that I genuinely don't know how to feel about, and I want y'all to really sit with this one. We gotta talk about what happened to Hernandez Goven's daughter. Because here's the thing, gang. Life comes at you hard. And sometimes the universe has a way of bringing things full circle in ways that are jarring. Hernandez Goven's daughter was killed, his own child. And I'm going to be real with you. Regardless of everything, regardless of what this man allegedly did, regardless of what people think of him and how they feel about him, losing a child is something I wouldn't wish on anybody. That is a level of pain that transcends street politics, that transcends beef. Losing a child is losing a piece of yourself that you can never get back. And I think about that, and I think about the fact that young Dolph also left behind children, kids who grew up without their father because of what happened. And it's like violence just keeps taking. It keeps taking from families. It keeps producing children who have to grow up missing a parent. And that cycle is something that nobody went from. Nobody. Now, I'm not saying that what happened to his daughter was karma or justice or any of that, because I don't play with children's lives like that. I'm not going there. But I will say that the trajectory of Hernandez Goven's life after he beat that case, the choices he made, the way he moved publicly, the reputation he seemed to be chasing, none of it led to peace. None of it led somewhere good. And his daughter paid a price that she had nothing to do with. That's just the reality of the environment that these situations create. And I think that matters to the overall story, because this isn't just about beef and clout and viral videos. There are real lives attached to all of this. Real families, real grief. And I want y'all to hold that as we get into what just happened, because it gives it weight, it gives it context. Okay, so now we are fully caught up. You know who Hernandez Goven is. You know what the police alleged his role was. You know he beat the case. You know how he moved when he got out. You know the tragedy that touched his own family. Now let's talk about what just happened, because this is what everybody is talking about right now. Hernandez Goven hopped on Instagram Live. Now, why he's going live at this point in his life with everything that's attached to his name, I genuinely don't understand the thought process. But he did it. He went live, and apparently CSS Talia Sammy, who is a PRE affiliate, somebody who moves in Dolph circles, somebody who represents that side, he either saw the live himself or somebody pulled up and told him that this man was on Instagram Live and gave him the location or figured out where he was. And gang, he pulled up. Like in person, physically went to where Hernandez Goven was. And what happened next is the video that is currently making its rounds on every platform you can think of. There was a confrontation, it got physical, And the footage is out there, people are watching it, people are sharing it, and the reaction has been, I mean, you can imagine. In certain circles, CFS Dahlia's Sammy is being treated like a hero right now, like somebody who did what needed to be done, like somebody who went and stood on business for Dolph's name, for PRE, for Memphis, for everybody who felt like justice didn't fully come through the court system. And I want to break down why that reaction exists, because I think it's important to understand. When someone is connected or alleged to be connected to something as significant as the murder of young Dolph, and they beat their case, and then they come out here moving the way Hernandez Goven moved, running his mouth, doing interviews, seemingly reveling in the notoriety, there is a segment of the population, and it's not a small one, who feels like the legal system failed, who feels like justice wasn't served. And when you feel like the system didn't come through, sometimes people take matters into their own hands. I'm not here to tell you that's right or wrong from a legal standpoint. I'm here to tell you that's the reality of how these situations play out. That's the code that exists in these environments. And CFS Dahlia Sammy catching word that this man was on live, locating him and physically showing up. That is that code being executed in real time. Now let's talk about CFS Dahlia Sammy for a second, because I think people deserve to know who this individual is before they just make assumptions. From what's out there on his Instagram and from what people in his circles have said, this is not somebody who just jumped on this situation for clout or for views. This is someone who genuinely has ties to PRE, who genuinely felt the connection to young Dolph and what he represented, and who has been vocal about his feelings toward the people alleged to be connected to Dolph's death for a while now. This isn't somebody who just woke up and decided to be a hero for the internet. This is someone who has had these feelings building up, and the fact that Hernandez Goven was sitting there on Instagram live, comfortable, visible, accessible, was apparently the moment where it all came to a head. And the thing is, gang, going live in the street like that, with that kind of name attached to you, in a city like Memphis where people have long memories and deep loyalties, that's what they call lacking. Getting caught lacking. You can't be that accessible, that visible, that relaxed when you got that kind of history following you around. And Hernandez Goven found that out. The video of the confrontation has been spreading fast. And the comments, the reactions, the way people are engaging with this footage, it tells you everything you need to know about how the public feels about Hernandez Goven and his post-case behavior. People are not sympathizing with him in this moment. People are watching that video and feeling something entirely different. Let me also talk about what this means in the bigger picture of the young Dolph legacy, because I think that's an important conversation to have. Young Dolph, Adolph Thornton Jr. was more than a rapper. I said that at the top, and I mean it more now than I did when I said it. This was a man who grew up in South Memphis, one of the toughest environments in the country, and carved out something extraordinary through sheer will and business acumen. He went independent at a time when everybody said you had to be signed to make it. He turned down deals that would have made other people rich because he believed in owning what he created. Paper Route Empire wasn't just a label, it was a philosophy. It was proof that you could do it on your own terms. And when he was killed, the grief in Memphis was palpable. You could feel it online, you could feel it in the music that came out afterward, you could feel it in the way Key and the family handled themselves in the aftermath with dignity, with purpose, continuing to push the PRE legacy forward. That grief didn't go away. It doesn't go away. And that grief is directly connected to the anger that people feel when they see someone like Hernandez Goven out here doing what he's been doing. Because when you love somebody, when you respect somebody's legacy, when you feel like they were taken from the world in a way that was deeply unjust, you don't forget. And you don't forget the people you believe were involved. You don't forget them when they beat their case. You don't forget them when they start doing interviews. And you definitely don't forget them when they hop on Instagram Live and act like everything is sweet. Everything is not sweet. And now everybody knows it. Let me also address something that I think is going to come up in the comments, because it always does when something like this happens. Some people are going to say, well, he beat the case. He's innocent. The court said he didn't do it. And legally, yes, he was not convicted. That is a fact. Our legal system operates on the principle of innocent until proven guilty. And by the standards of that system, he was not found guilty of what he was charged with. But gang, and I need y'all to really hear this, not being convicted is not the same as being innocent in the eyes of the people who love Dolph. It's not the same as being innocent in the eyes of Memphis. The court system has limitations. Evidence gets suppressed. Witnesses don't cooperate. Cases fall apart for procedural reasons that have nothing to do with actual guilt or innocence. And people who live in these communities know that. They've seen that. They've watched guilty people walk free and innocent people get time. So when someone beats a case like this, the automatic assumption in certain circles is not that they were innocent. Especially when that person turns around and starts moving the way Hernandez Goven was moving. His behavior after getting out, the interviews, the energy, the way he was talking about all of this, essentially told on himself to the people who were watching. And that's why nobody who's clapping for C.S. Sammy right now is really trying to hear that he beat the case argument. The court's opinion and the street's opinion are two very different things. And right now, the streets have spoken. And here's what I want to say directly about C.S. Sammy's decision to pull up, because I know this is going to be a talking point. People are going to debate whether this was the right move. People are going to have opinions about it from every angle. But what I'll say is this, from the PRE side, from the people who ride for Dolph, this wasn't random beef. This wasn't clout chasing. This was someone who looked at the situation, felt like somebody disrespectful was out here breathing easy and running his mouth about something connected to the death of a man they love, and decided that wasn't going to happen without consequences. That's the context. Like it or not, that's the world this story exists in. And the fact that it happened because Hernandez was on live, that's the part that's going to sting the most for him. Because you chose to go live, you chose to be visible, you essentially handed someone who had a problem with you a roadmap to where you were. That's not something anyone forced on you, that was a choice. And that choice had consequences. C.S. Sammy saw it, moved on it, and now the video is everywhere. And Hernandez Goven, who has spent time since beating his case trying to build some kind of public profile around his infamy, is now viral again, but not on his own terms. Not in an interview chair, not talking his talk. In a video where somebody pre-affiliated showed up and made him answer for all of it. Gang, let me bring this home, because we've covered a lot of ground in this video and I want to make sure it all connects before I let you go. We started with young Dolph, November 17th, 2021. The loss of a legend, a real one. Someone who built something from nothing and represented for Memphis at the highest level. We talked about Hernandez Goven and what law enforcement alleged his role was, the conspiracy, the car, the coordination, and how he was charged as part of that case. We talked about how he beat those charges and how instead of moving accordingly, he went out here doing interviews and seemingly embracing the narrative that came with his name being attached to Dolph's death. We talked about the loss of his daughter, a tragedy that speaks to the endless cycle of violence and pain that ripples out from these situations, touching innocent people who never asked for any of it. And then we got to right now, C.S. Sammy finding out this man was on live, pulling up on him, and the video of that confrontation going viral across the internet. This is a story about loyalty, about grief, about what happens when someone feels like justice didn't come through the proper channels and decides to do something about it, about the consequences of the choices you make when you beat a serious charge and then go out here moving reckless instead of moving smart. And at the foundation of all of it is young Dolph, a man whose name, whose legacy, whose memory still carries so much weight that people are willing to move on his behalf years after he's been gone. That's what real loyalty looks like. That's what it means when somebody actually meant something to the people around them. You don't just mourn them and move on. You carry that with you. And when you see something that feels like a violation of their name, of their memory, of what they stood for, some people don't just scroll past it. Some people pull up. And now everybody's watching. If you're new to the channel and this video just puts you onto the full Hernandez Goven situation, welcome. Subscribe, because we cover all of this, all the real stories, all the things that don't always get the full breakdown they deserve. If you've been here, you already know what we do. Drop in the comments what you think about all of this, about C.S. Sammy pulling up, about Hernandez Goven's behavior since he beat the case, about all of it. I want to hear where y'all are at with this. And if you want to see more content breaking down the full stories behind the headlines, hit that like button, because it tells me you want more of this. And I'll keep bringing it. Long live young Dolph. PRE forever. I'll catch y'all in the next one.